Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Tonight, it is time for the Daily Report and later on, the People's Court. My name is Victor Muyakane.
And mine is Linda Alela. Welcome.
Absolutely. Karibu sana. And of
what
course,
do we have tonight?
Before we continue, on sign language, we have none other than Catherine Simaloy. Right there.
Right.
Absolutely. We have a lot in store tonight. We want to talk about something that a lot of Kenyans are talking about. A lot of Kenyans are feeling the pinch of, which is the Kenyan health sector.
You know, last year, maybe at a time like this, Victor, we discussed the state of health and especially it being at that level of devolution.
Right.
Most of the medics felt like maybe it wasn't a right thing or perhaps it was not the best decision to devolve the health sector. And up until today, the conversation is the same. And we have specialists who are going to tell us what it is like now that we're talking about that shift from NHIF
to SHA or SHA, as we call it.
And so
I mean, it's not been the best ride.
Right.
And we want to give the people who are stakeholders the opportunity to talk to us a little bit about what they see as gaps, opportunities, and maybe even recommendations on the way forward. We shall be talking to you about that a little bit later on the People's Court. But first,
the highlights.
The highlights.
Tonight, Office of the Commissioner of Data Protection launch investigations into allegations of the National Police Service colluding with telecommunications companies in tracking and arresting suspects.
We continue to encourage people to complain to us when they have any data violations.
Also tonight, President Ruto threatens to fire non-performing government officials as cabinet secretaries and PSs sign performance contracts.
The failure of one sector of government affects the overall performance of government.
And hundreds of residents of Woodley spend a night in the cold as government starts a demolition to pave way for modern housing project. But the county government has promised to prioritize homeowners in the relocation. It is World Toilet and Men Day. Or is it Men and Toilet Day? World celebrates men and toilets on the same day for another year.
Absolutely. It's quite a show that we have in store for you, and we begin now. Tonight, President William Ruto has defended his administration from what he termed as enemies of Kenya and naysayers to his development agenda, saying he will put them to shame.
And yes, the president, who was reacting to criticism on his administration's universal health care program and the education funding model, said he is ready to repay the cost of the two matters, which he said his two predecessors failed to achieve.
Apollo Kamau reports on a day that State House fought back against the Catholic Church's donation saga.
After days of back and forth with the clergy on his administration's performance, touching the core of Kenya's livelihood, President William Ruto says he will prove the naysayers wrong and put to shame what he described as enemies of Kenya in fixing the country.
We will confound the naysayers. We will succeed. This country will not fail. This great nation that God has given us will succeed. The enemies of Kenya will be put to shame because we are going to succeed and we are going to take this country forward.
The president mounting a defense of his administration in what he termed as biting the bullet, where his predecessors Moi Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta failed in fixing universal health care that has drawn a lot of criticism, and the education sector, where the funding model and the competency-based curriculum have been poked as frustrating and inadequate.
We have taken on the responsibility to do something about it, however difficult it may be. We have taken on the responsibility of universal health coverage. I know 2 successive presidents have attempted and they didn't quite succeed. 2 successive governments have attempted, they didn't quite succeed. We have decided that we are taking on this challenge because there are too many Kenyans that die out of illnesses that we can treat.
In the past 5 days, the president has been jolted to action by the Catholic Church, backed by their Anglican counterparts, in cutting ties with his administration for propagating a culture of lies and kept promises, corruption, and overtaxation.
This year, by God's grace, in a very long time, we will not import some of the food products, including maize. I am equally very proud that we are making significant progress in the production of sugar in Kenya. Something that has been so difficult. We've had to look for COMESA safeguard waivers since I was Minister for Agriculture almost 10 years ago.
In the president's inner circle, his senior advisor on economic affairs, Moses Kuria, has told him to listen to the Catholic Church, saying, and I quote, "Rule number 1, the Catholic Church is always right. Rule number 2, in case the Catholic Church is wrong, refer to rule number 1. And after the Soweto Church donations on Sunday, which was rejected by the Catholic Church, State House put the Catholic Church on the spot, saying the 2.6 million shillings the president gave has not yet been returned. Civil society groups in Nakuru, while supporting the Catholic Church stand against the government, challenged the church to prove the money was returned to the state.
We are also asking the Catholic, the Archdiocese, to share public evidence that this money has actually been returned and received by Governor Sakaja and President Ruto.
Apul Kamau, TV47.
Remember that conversation tonight, even as we take a look at just how the health sector has performed at that devolved level. But then again, in the same breath, following the signing of ministerial performance contracts, that is Tuesday at State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto has now said that he will fire non-performing government officials, among them cabinet secretaries.
The head of state emphasized that ministerial performance contracts are serious and resolute pledges to carry out the government's inclusive and revolutionary objectives rather than being purely ceremonial duties.
And as Mike Kagungo was in State House and prepared the following report.
His Excellency the President.
President William Ruto Tuesday morning presided over the first broad-based government performance contract ceremony at the State House in Nairobi, bringing together government officials assisting him run Kenya Kwanza administration. One after the other, the cabinet secretaries, accompanied by their respective principal secretaries, marched towards the main dais to commit their allegiance to Kenya Kwanza government for the next 365 days. Prime Cabinet Secretary and CS for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Musalia Mudavadi, while leading his brigade, signed 2 performance contracts, including that of Interior and National Administration. Only Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Margaret Nyabura Dongo did not appear at the State House following her visit to Europe. President William Ruto emphasized that ministerial performance contracts are serious and resolute pledges to carry out the government's inclusive and resolutionary objectives rather than being purely ceremonial duties.
I want us to understand that the failure of one sector of government, one department, one agency, one ministry affects the overall performance of government. And therefore, it is our collective responsibility to make sure that using the whole of government approach, that we ensure that we build the necessary momentum and also synergy
According to Ruto, each cabinet secretary will receive a performance report card detailing the accomplishment of their ministry at the conclusion of each fiscal year.
These scorecards will ensure that performance contracting is not seen as a meaningless ritual. This scorecard will carry recognition, rewards, and sanctions which will be applied without fail.
It means that we are expected, in the context in which we exercise our mandates, to ensure that whatever commitments we make, we fulfill them. Because accountability demands transparency, report back, and evaluation.
The second performance contract signing ceremony under President William Ruto also served as a breakthrough to devolved units, with Ruto saying the National Treasury will disburse available budgetary allocations on time to ensure seamless implementation of his manifesto.
The performance contracts for the financial year 2024-2025 have incorporated commitments to deliver the Kenya Kwanza administration's development agenda, that is, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of 2022 to 2027. Mike Kagwango, TV47 from State House, Nairobi.
In other news, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner has begun investigations into allegations that some mobile service providers are issuing detectives with crucial private data that assisted them in tracking and arresting suspects.
Amnesty International, a human rights group, is to write to telecommunication companies over its concerns into the allegations.
Moiga William tells us more.
The aftermath of the Gen Z-led protest in the months of June and July was characterized by forceful disappearance and abductions of individuals believed to be behind the anti-government protest. At the center of the abductions were allegations pointing that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations was using data given by telecommunication companies to track and arrest suspects. The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, charged with protecting the privacy of individuals' data from processing that is not in accordance with the law, has commenced investigations into the allegation.
We continue to encourage people to complain to us when they have any data violations. As an office, we continue to look into the rights of the data subject, and once we look at the rights of the data subject, we either dismiss a matter, fine a matter, or do whatever is necessary to make sure that the rights of the data subject are concerned.
The Data Protection Commissioner's office, however, has confirmed it is yet to receive any complaint from the public in relation to the country's investigative bodies collaborating with the telecommunications companies in tracking down suspects, albeit currently handling over 7,000 complaints.
As an office, once we receive those complaints, we make sure we have to address them within 90 days. And what we have seen as a trend, the biggest complaint, of course, have been around digital lenders.
Also, Amnesty International says it will write to some of the telecommunications companies alleged to have shared personal data with the country's investigating bodies.
To request information under the Freedom of Information laws to understand better whether this indeed has happened, what the extent of this breach has been, and what the information that was accessed from subscribers, how this has been used.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations earlier refuted claims to have used data from telecommunication companies, insisting that some of the arrests are attributed to forensic analysis and collection of crucial evidence by its officers. Earlier this month, the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, detailed that 57 people were reported to have been kidnapped and abducted since the Gen Z protest, with the 29 people still missing, whereas 22 people found alive while 2 found dead. Moige William, TV47.
Thank you, Moige, for that. Now, Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru says she is going nowhere politically, even after her second term in office lapses.
Waiguru, who has not been seen in public since the nomination of Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, spoke amidst talks of an impeachment at the County Assembly of Kirinyaga, which has been closed indefinitely today.
Monday morning, Kirinyaga County Assembly witnessed chaotic scenes, resulting to its closure indefinitely by Speaker Muteti Murimi in what he described as a way to allow for mediation and the fostering of unity among the disputed parties. Deputy Speaker Jinaro Njamumo found himself in hot soup after announcing the removal of Daniel Kibinga, an ally of Governor Waiguru, as the House Majority Leader after being accused of failing to effectively run the business of the House. Sources in the County Assembly indicates that the development came amid his claims of a looming impeachment motion against the governor. The governor, however, says she's here to stay even after her second term in 2027.
You know, for me, I need to get the votes from everywhere. You know, there are people who have been saying, Governor anamaliza, alafu anaenda nyumbani. No, amoirendra inoka. No, amoirendra inoka. Niene huwa na modo wako inoka.
MCS opposing the ousted the majority leader turned guns blazing against the deputy speaker, faulting the process followed to oust the embattled majority leader. Governor Waiguru has not been seen in public since the nomination and subsequent swearing in of Professor Kithure Kindiki as deputy president. On Sunday, the deputy president was in a church in Kirinyaga County where Waiguru skipped. Waiguru was among those who were eyeing for the deputy president's position ahead of the oust of former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
Back to the capital city, and after the demolitions of houses in the Woodley area of Nairobi, Governor Johnson Sakaja has assured residents whose homes were demolished that they will be prioritized once the construction of 1,975 new houses is completed under the Nairobi City Improvement Project.
While speaking after a meeting with Nairobi County Cabinet ministers at City Hall, Governor Sakaja praised the legal procedures following in executing the demolition and stating that plans to modernize other areas like Bahati and Kariobangi are ongoing with full adherence to the law at every stage. However, some residents whose homes were demolished have resisted the move, with some threatening to seek legal intervention.
All right, and in other news, public sector unions have urged civil servants to turn up for the ongoing public participation exercise at the National Treasury, which will help provide a legal framework for the Public Servants Medical Fund.
The unionists have refuted claims that the fund will be deducted from taxpayers, maintaining that the fund was under the defunct NHIF and should be transitioned, that is, to the Social Health Authority.
Elizabeth Atieno with the details.
The Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning has published a draft bill titled the Public Finance Management Regulations of 2024. This bill proposes a new health fund designed to support the social health insurance fund benefits available to all civil servants. The new fund, currently on public participation, seeks to replace the long-standing comprehensive medical insurance scheme for civil servants and disciplined services under the defunct NHIF, which has served public servants since 2011 and will be renamed the Public Officers Medical Scheme Fund.
Very clear that this particular medical fund will provide for the civil servant the services that they were enjoying prior to the establishment of SHA without loss of any benefits.
Following the launch of the Social Health Authority on the 1st of October 2024, the previous scheme, which covered the principal member and up to 6 dependents, was discontinued. Hence, public sector unions were forced to issue a joint strike notice on the 8th of October 2024. It is then that the government, through the Public Service Commission and the Social Health Authority, agreed to extend the comprehensive medical cover of the civil servants to the 21st of November 2024.
By 21st, I would just want to give my members assurance, all civil servants, that we are going to foresee an extension of service until that fund is ready.
NHF came to an end. We realized that our members were digging deep into their pocket despite actually the increased amount that we were now subscribing under SHA We felt that that is not what's supposed to be happening, and that is against the law that we have today.
According to the new bill, funds recovered from medical benefits will be directed to the Public Servants Medical Fund. Public sector unions have maintained that civil and public servants will continue contributing to and benefiting from the Social Health Authority through the 2.75% payroll deductions.
We are not looking for any money from taxpayers. We are only defending the money we have been enjoying. Because this money we are talking about, it has been there in NHIF. Now we miss a home to put this money to.
The over 6 million public servants in Kenya have been urged to table their submissions on the ongoing public participation, which is slated to end tomorrow at the National Treasury, so as to access the cover. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, learning continues to be paralyzed in all public universities with the ongoing lecturers' strike. Following the peaceful demos held on Monday, the Dons have persisted that they will not suspend the strike until the 2021-2025 CBA is implemented fully.
Yeah, well, this is Anastasia Mukabi. Details.
Shortly after this, Dons presented their petitions to Parliament, Treasury and at the Ministry of Education. The officials of their union, UWASU, were expected to have talks with the National Assembly Committee. But these committees' talks were adjourned till Thursday. The Dons have vowed to intensify their industrial action until they receive the 9.7 billion Kenya shillings to implement their 2021 to 2025 CBA as agreed on 26th of September. However, students in 35 public universities are in agony as learning continues to paralyze, with not only following the ongoing lecturer strike, but also a section of them will not be allowed to take their final examinations because they're facing difficulties to clear their fees. This comes after the High Court temporarily suspended the new funding model in early October. The President, William Ruto, has assured that despite the challenges that the Kenya Kwanza government is facing, they will bite the bullet to make this new funding model work.
For a very long time, close to 15, 20 years, we haven't thought with clarity about our education and the funding of our education. We have decided this time round to bite the bullet and sort out the funding in our education sector and provide clarity on the education of our children.
As the strike persists in Moi University, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Isaac Kosgei, has been summoned to appear before EACC tomorrow. At least 3 more people have been grilled, bringing to 58 the number of people who have been grilled so far in the ongoing probe. Anastasia Mukabi, TV47.
Thank you, Mukabi. Now, the government has onboarded 18,000 services digitally through the National eCitizen, a move that has seen the ministry witness an increase in revenue collection after collecting 400 billion Kenya shillings.
The Principal Secretary of State Department for Immigration, Julius Bitok, has stated that there was a huge leap in the cash collection following the government's deliberate move to put most of its services on the digital platform. He further stated that Kenya has surpassed Rwanda with about 700 services being offered digitally. time for some business. And in business, Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru has affirmed that her administration is committed to support investors' entry into various sectors for the economic growth of the county.
The governor noted that the county, being agricultural in nature, will work hand in hand with investors for the sake of delivery of services. She said that this during the opening of the NCBA Bank branch in Kirinyaga, affirming that the establishment of the bank in Kirinyaga is a testament of collective vision for prosperous future of the county.
That Bishori rice earns our farmers in excess of 25 billion shillings every year, every single year. So if you're thinking where should you open a branch, I'm giving you the hints without telling you where. You know, for me, I need to get the votes from everywhere. You know, there are people who have been saying, Governor anamaliza, alafu anaenda nyumbani. No, amoirendra inoka. No, amoirendra inoka. Niene huwa na modo wako inoka.
All right, there you go. And Kenya is severely lacking in a business outsourcing governing framework, which has affected value chains across different sectors.
Yes, indeed. The Kenya Private Sector Alliance says that regulatory uncertainties are holding Kenya back from being a regional hub for BPOs. This is despite immense potential to take over the entire scene.
Hibak Said with that.
Kenya's foreign direct investments are a little over $500 million, a far stretch from the December 2023 goal of $10 billion set by the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. And while boosting foreign exchange reserves through tourism and remittance being a surefire way of boosting these numbers, the business community believes that business process outsourcing would be the next avenue of pushing up foreign interests in the local scene.
Our partnership, especially in this area of BPO, the sector that we know is the current and the future of this country. We must prioritize skills development. Where our young people are eager and talented, they need targeted training to compete on a global stage. So they are given education in the education sectors, but are we developing the right skills? Are we looking at the skills gap that exists?
The catch-22, however, lies in the lack of a policy to govern the potential goldmine. And the government is now tasked with the delicate balancing act of promoting policies that govern but do not stifle it.
The global BPO industry is evolving rapidly. I think if we look about 10, 15 years, and what it is today is very different. And so the need and the demand for high-value services such as legal tech, healthcare outsourcing, and financial analytics.
Nobody has all the answers, but I know if we collaborate and we are committed, we will have a policy that will serve this nation.
KEPSA CEO Carol Kariuki says collaboration must now be established between relevant stakeholders and the government to foster the growth of the rapidly evolving market. Hibak Said for TV47.
Extension officers could be the missing link between farmer sensitization and harvesting of good yields in the grassroots, especially for horticulture farmers.
Now, Cooperative CS Wycliffe Oparanya has also urged members of parliament to fast-track bills meant to boost the coffee sector financially, saying that the cash crop is quickly losing popularity, especially among small-scale farmers who cannot afford the initial cost of production for coffee.
Hapo zamani ilikuwa mbele kuliko Uganda. Sasa ile iko number 1 Afrika mzima na Ethiopia. Namba 2 Uganda. Kenya tuko hapa namba 7, namba 8. Lakini miaka 20 iliyopita Kenya ilikuwa namba 1. Nini ilifanyika?
Of it inakuanga pale kwa shamba kwa mambo za production. Kwa sababu the more kilos you have, the better the quality, the more money you have.
This is an economic revolution. It's an economic revolution. Uchumi ya watu wetu itabadilika. Na mimi nakuhakikishia waziri kwamba mimi nitatembea na viongozi wengine na hawa wakulima na cooperative zetu kuhakikisha kwamba hii mambo ya kahawa take off.
Kahawa iko na pesa. Na pana pesa dola. Sema dola. Hakuna kilimo Kenya watu wanalipwa kwa dola isipokuwa nini? Na nyinyi msibaki.
Right, and on that note, we want to take a bit of a breather, but when we come back, what are we going to have, Linda?
Of course, we get to that very important discussion. Whom do we have? Dr. Miskela Dennis is on board, as well as Beatrice Cairo, who's an health economist, as well as Dr. Brian Lishenga, chairman of the Rural and Urban Private Hospital Association, that will be steering us, or perhaps will be steering them to this very important conversation, alongside other ladies and gentlemen that equally will be on the audience side. Absolutely. So that we get to understand just what is the state of devolved health after this.